What is dawn to a man who has never known freedom? For Isaac, the first light of morning is not a promise, not a gentle unfolding of hope. It is the moment the world reminds him that he is still bound, still owned, still less than human in the eyes of those who claim him. He wakes to the bitter smoke that seeps even through the cracks of the mud walls of the hut. The air is thick, clinging to his lungs like a second skin. Around him, other bodies stir on the dirt floor-thin frames, hollow faces, children who have forgotten the taste of play. The sound of coughs, whispers, and quiet groans fill the darkness. The kiln never sleeps. Its fires roar through the night, and its smoke hovers like a curse over everything they touch. Isaac sits up slowly, his back screaming from yesterday's burdens. His hands, calloused and split, still ache from shaping clay until the skin tore. He has no time to dwell on pain. Pain is a constant herein, uninvited, companion that has long since become familiar. The first shout pierces the morning. "Out, you dogs." The overseer's voice is sharp, cruel, cutting through the half-light. A heavy stick bangs against the side of the hut, and the sound sends shivers through the men and women inside. Isaac rises, steadying himself as the younger ones scramble to their feet. He touches the shoulder of a boy, Thomas, barely 12, urging him up gently before the stick finds him instead. They file out in silence. A line of shadows under the pale light. Mr. Grayson's overseers wait with whips coiled at their sides, eyes already hunting for weakness. The master himself will appear later. He prefers to wake when the sun is higher, when the slaves have already broken their backs in labor. For now, it is the overseers who hold power, and they wield it with savage delight. The world outside smells of earth and smoke. The kiln towers in the distance, a monstrous beast of brick and flame that consumes endlessly, yet is never satisfied. Its mouth gapes wide, swallowing cartloads of clay and timber, spitting out nothing but heat and the ashes of lives wasted in its service. Isaac adjusts the rag tied around his waist. Clothing here is not protection, but scraps, barely enough to cover dignity. He glances at Ruth, her face already streaked with soot, though the day has barely begun. She clutches her small child's hand, whispering to him, though Isaac cannot hear the words. Perhaps she is praying. Perhaps she is only begging him to live through another day. They are marched to the clay pits first. Isaac's bare feet sink into the cold mud. The earth's wet and heavy. His job is to dig, mold, and carry until his body gives out, or until the whip demands more. The overseer's eyes are sharp on him, for Isaac is strong despite the years of bondage. That strength is both his curse and his salvation. As he bends into the pit, scooping fistfuls of clay, memories drift unwanted into his mind. He remembers his mother's voice, low and soft, humming in the night when he was too young to understand why she cried as she sang. He remembers her hands, rough but gentle, holding his face and telling him to remember who he was. Even when they tried to take everything else, she died here, in the shadow of the kiln. Her song died with her, but the memory of it lingers like a stubborn ember inside him. Faster, Isaac. The crack of a whip slices the air, narrowly missing his back. The overseer smirks, daring him to falter. Isaac grits his teeth and lifts another mound of clay, his muscles straining. Around him, the others move like ghosts, their bodies bent, their spirits bound. Hours blur together. The sun rises, the heat swells, and the slaves' bodies glisten with sweat and soot. Breaks are few, water is scarce, food a thin porridge that barely fills the belly. Still, the overseers demand more bricks, more loads, more blood, squeezed from already broken flesh. At midday, Thomas collapses under a stack of wet bricks. Isaac rushes forward instinctively, lifting the boy before the overseer can strike. He sets Thomas on his feet, whispering encouragement. The whip finds Isaac's back instead, searing through flesh with fire. He does not cry out. He will not give them that satisfaction. The overseer snarls. One more stumble from him, and the boy won't see tomorrow. Isaac meets his gaze, his chest rising and falling. He says nothing, because words are dangerous. But in his silence lies defiance, and the overseer sees it. Another lash burns across his shoulder. The others look away. They cannot afford to be caught staring. The day drags on, endless as the smoke. By nightfall, Isaac's body is bruised, his spirit frayed, but he still stands. As they are herded back to their huts, he catches sight of the Kiln's glow against the darkening sky. It looks like hell made flesh, swallowing everything it touches. He wonders if his soul is already inside it, burning with the rest. Inside the hut, the slaves collapse onto the dirt floor. No one speaks. Words are too heavy. Isaac lies down, staring at the cracked ceiling above him. Somewhere beyond the smoke, the stars might still be shining, but here they will never be seen. Sleep does not come easily. When it does, it carries with it the echo of his mother's song faint, fragile, almost broken. But it is enough to remind him that, though he is bound, though he is beaten, some part of him has not yet been claimed by the fire. The kill will have his body, but not his soul, not yet. Asterisk, asterisk. Morning comes without mercy. The night's rest has done little more than dull the edge of exhaustion. Isaac wakes stiff, his body a map of bruises, his skin carrying the sting of the overseer's whip from yesterday. Around him, others stir from the dirt floor, and the air is already heavy with smoke that never lifts. The overseer's stick pounds against the hut again. "Move," he growls, his voice dripping with cruelty. Isaac helps Thomas to his feet, the boy's small hands. Trembling in his own, Thomas has not spoken since yesterday's collapse. Fear has stolen his tongue. Isaac says nothing, but the gentle squeeze of his hand tells the boy to endure. Outside, the kiln smolders. The overseers line the workers up like cattle. Today begins like every other, back-breaking loads of clay, endless molding, and the fiery furnace demanding to be fed. Yet today, Isaac's mind lingers on the invisible chains, not made of iron, but of numbers, ink, and lies. Mr. Grayson appears shortly after the sun rises, stepping from his large house at the edge of the kill yard. His boots shine, polished, as if untouched by the filth that stains every slave's body. His presence is enough to silence the overseers themselves. Behind him, a servant carries a thick ledger, its leather cover cracked with years of use. Grayson opens it with ceremony, as though it were scripture. "Debts," he announces, his voice loud and deliberate, meant to pierce through the line of weary workers. "Debts that bind you here until your last breath. Your fathers owed me, and so you owe me. Your mothers labored here, and so you will labor here. Generations serve the kill, and generations will die in its shadow. This is the law of my land." His eyes sweep over the crowd, cold and unfeeling. Isaac lowers his gaze, but not quickly enough. Grayson stops before him, smirking. "You've grown strong, Isaac, stronger than your father ever was. Do you remember?" Him, Isaac's stomach twists. He remembers only fragments his father's rough hands, lifting him high into the air. The deep rumble of his laugh, before it was silenced forever. Grayson relishes the silence. "Your father died owing me more than he could ever pay. That debt is yours now, and when you die, your children will carry it." The words slice deeper than any whip. Debt fabricated, endless, inescapables, the shackle that binds them tighter than iron ever could. Isaac clenches his fists, nails digging into torn palms, but he keeps his head bowed. To defy Grayson openly is to invite death, not just for himself but for others. The work begins. Clay pits, water buckets, the shaping of bricks that will soon burn in the furnace. Isaac works beside Ruth, who moves with quiet desperation. Her child stumbles often, too small for the loads he carries. Each stumble earns him a lash. Ruth's eyes are swollen from tears, but she says nothing. Her silence is a shield, fragile, but necessary. Samuel, the elder, works slower than the rest, his body failing after decades under the kill's shadow. When the overseer raises his whip, Isaac steps in front of him, taking the blow across his back without flinching. Samuel looks at him with weary gratitude, but Isaac knows gratitude means nothing here. His act of protection will only make the overseers target him more. As the day drags on, whispers ripple through the workers when the overseers are out of earshot. Ruth speaks softly to Isaac during a rare pause. They say debts can be worked off, she mutters, her voice trembling with both hope and bitterness. That if we labor long enough, our children will walk free. Isaac shakes his head. That's the lie that keeps us breathing. There is no freedom here, not in this life. Her eyes glisten, not from the smoke, but from the weight of his truth. She presses her child close, as if to shield him from words as much as whips. The overseers return before silence can settle. The work resumes with harsher orders, heavier loads, faster speeds. The kiln breathes greedily, its smoke curling into the sky, carrying with it the sweat and blood of every man, woman, and child bound to it. By sunset, Isaac's body is numb, moving on instinct alone. The overseers herd them back to their huts, barking threats, promising worse if tomorrow's tally of bricks is less than today's. Inside the hut, Samuel whispers into the darkness. The kiln takes everything. But still, we must remember who we are. If not for us, then for those who will come after. Isaac stares into the shadows. Thomas curled beside him, Ruth weeping quietly in the corner. He thinks of Grayson's words, debts carried across generations, freedom stolen before it could ever be born. Rage smolders in his chest like the kiln's fire, but he buries it deep. Outwardly, he is silent, compliant. Inwardly, he is waiting, though he does not know what for. The night thickens, heavy with smoke. Outside, the kiln still glows, its fire eternal. Isaac closes his eyes, knowing tomorrow will bring the same chains, the same lies, the same weight of debts that will never be paid. Yet somewhere beneath the ash, a stubborn ember still glows. He is bound by the kiln, but not yet broken. The sun rises fierce, as if it takes pleasure in burning the skin of those who have no shelter from its blaze. By the time the first hour of work has passed, sweat soaks Isaac's body, stinging the raw welts on his back. The overseers circle, like vultures, their whips dangling loosely in their hands, eager for a reason to strike. In the kiln yard, mercy is not a language anyone speaks. Isaac bends to lift a stack of wet bricks. The weight presses down on his shoulders, his knees buckling. Under the load, his hands shake, fingers cracked open and bleeding from yesterday's labor. Still, he does not stop. To stop is to invite pain, but the body has limits, and Isaac's is close to breaking. As he stumbles forward, one brick slips from the stack, crashing into the dust at his feet. The sound is small, but in the silence of the yard, it echoes like a gunshot. Hold! The overseer's voice cuts through the air. The yard freezes. Every pair of weary eyes flickers toward Isaac, though quickly they drop again. To watch is dangerous, but to ignore is impossible. The overseer approaches, whip coiled in his hand, a cruel smile curling his lips. "Strong man," he sneers, circling Isaac like a predator. "Strong shoulders, strong back, and yet one brick is too much for you." Isaac says nothing. His breath comes ragged, but he keeps his gaze low, praying silence will protect him. It does not. The whip cracks before. Isaac can even brace himself. Fire sears across his back, ripping through flesh, igniting every nerve. He staggers but does not fall. Another lash follows, then another. Each strike tears a cry from his throat, though he bites down hard to muffle the sound. The overseer screams. He wants Isaac broken before them all. Look at him. The overseer roars, his voice thick with triumph. This is what happens when you forget your place. This is what happens when the kiln feeds you, but you dare stumble like a child. He yanks Isaac upright by the arm, forcing him to face the line of workers. You see this man. His strength means nothing here. Nothing. His body is mine to break, his life mine to burn. The whip strikes again, this time across Isaac's chest, leaving a welt that rises like fire beneath his skin. He bites back another cry, his jaw locked, his teeth grinding. Around him, he can feel the eyes of Ruth, of Samuel, of little Thomas. They cannot look away now. The overseer has made them audience to his cruelty. Humiliation burns hotter than the whip. Isaac is not only being punished, he is being displayed, paraded like a beast that must be tamed. The overseer forces his head down, pressing his face into the dust. His chest heaves with pain, but he does not beg. He will not give them that. Beg. The overseer spits. Beg me for mercy, and I may spare you more lashes. The silence that follows is suffocating. Isaac feels the eyes of the slaves heavy. Upon him, waiting, fearing what he will do, slowly he lifts his head, his face streaked with sweat and dirt. His lips part, but no plea escapes them. Only silence. The overseer's eyes darkened with fury. The whip rises again, and the lash comes. Down harder, tearing through the same welts, reopening fresh wounds. Isaac's vision blurs. The world narrows to fire and pain. At last, when his body is near collapse, the overseer steps back. "Enough," he says, though the satisfaction in his voice says he would happily continue. "Back to work, dog. And remember, your strength belongs to us, not you." Isaac pushes himself up from the dust, his arms trembling, blood staining his ragged shirt. He sways but does not fall. Every step back to his place is agony, yet he forces himself to move. Around him no one speaks, but he can feel their silent cries pressing against him. Ruth's eyes glisten with unshed tears. Samuel bows his head, whispering something that might be a prayer. The work resumes. Bricks are lifted, clay molded, fires stoked. The overseer's cruelty has become part of the rhythm of the day, as ordinary as the smoke in their lungs. Isaac works through the pain, every motion tearing open his wounds. The heat from the kill licks at his back, stinging the cuts as if the fire itself is mocking him. As the hours stretch, Isaac's mind begins to drift. He remembers being a boy, before the whip had ever touched his skin, before he knew the taste of ash in his mouth. He remembers his mother's lullabies, her hand brushing his hair from his forehead, whispering that he was more than what they said he was. He clings to that memory like a man clings to air while drowning. By nightfall, Isaac is more shadow than flesh. His body aches, his wounds ooze, but his spirit, though battered, remains. He lies in the hut, pressed into the dirt, the others gathered close in silence. Thomas rests near his side, small fingers brushing against his arm, as if to say, "You endured for us." And in that silent gesture, Isaac finds a spark. The overseers can whip his flesh until it tears. They can drag his body through dust and fire. They can humiliate him before his people, but they cannot strip him of the ember inside that refuses to be extinguished. The kill feeds on their bodies, but Isaac's soul is not yet for the taking. Night falls heavy on the kill yard. Smoke drifts across the sky, blotting out the stars as if the heavens themselves refuse to witness the suffering below. Inside the hut, the slaves lie pressed together on the dirt floor, their bodies exhausted from the day's torment, yet sleep does not come easily. Sleep is fragile here, broken by coughs, by the whimper of children, by the throbbing ache of wounds that never heal. Isaac lies awake, his back raw from the whip, his muscles stiff and unyielding. Every time he shifts, pain rips through him, yet he forces himself to remain still. Around him, the others whisper soft murmurs that rise and fade like the wind. In those whispers live fragments of lives that the kill has tried to erase. Samuel, the elder, speaks low, his voice hoarse from years of smoke and ash. "My mother's name was Miriam," he says, barely more than a breath. "She used to braid my hair at night, tell me the sea could carry us to freedom if only we could reach its shore." His eyes glisten in the dim glow of a dying ember. "I've not spoken her name in 20 years. They wanted me to forget, but I cannot." A silence follows. No one dares answer too quickly. Even in the hut, even in darkness, ears may be listening. Names are dangerous. Names are proof that they were once more than slaves, proof that they belonged to something before the kill consumed them. Isaac stares at the ceiling, the cracked clay above him, and feels his throat tighten. Slowly, quietly, he whispers, "Mary?" The sound of his mother's name feels like both a prayer and a wound. For years, he has held it buried, fearing that to speak it aloud would make the pain sharper. But tonight, her name escapes him, trembling in the smoke-filled air. He remembers her face-dark eyes filled with sorrow and strength, lips curved in a smile that was more for him than for herself. He remembers her humming in the night, a tune so soft it seemed made of air. "Mary," he repeats, more firmly. "This time, my mother. She died here, but her voice still follows me." Ruth, huddled in the corner with her child pressed to her chest, lifts her head. Her eyes are swollen, but her voice carries steady. "My sister's name was Eliza," she whispers. "They sold her away when I was 12. I never saw her again. I tell my boy about her so he knows he has an aunt, somewhere beyond this hell. If she lives still, the hut falls silent again, but it is not an empty silence. It is heavy with memory, with the weight of all the names that cannot be spoken aloud for fear of punishment. Each name hangs in the air like smoke, fragile but impossible to destroy. For Isaac, the memories come sharper now. He sees his sister Sarah, her hair tied back, her laughter a rare bright thing in their dark world. She was taken when he was 9, sold off to another master. He remembers the day clearly, her hand slipping from his, her cries drowned out by the overseer's shouts. He has not heard her voice since. Yet even now, he can close his eyes and recall her smile, the way she swore she would come back for him. The overseers want them to forget. Forget family, forget names, forget that they are human. But memory is the one weapon they still have, and Isaac realizes now that each recollection is an act of defiance. To speak Mary's name, Sarah's name, to hear Samuel whisper Miriam, to hear Ruth say Elisa, these are sparks against the suffocating dark. The hours pass. Some drift into uneasy sleep, their whispers fading. Isaac remains awake, listening to the steady breathing around him. He thinks of how many names have already been lost, faces gone, swallowed by the kill, remembered by no one. That thought terrifies him more than death. He makes a silent vow. He will remember. Even if his body burns in the fire, even if his blood soaks the earth, he will carry their names inside him. Mary, Sarah, Miriam, Eliza. He will hold them like a flame, small but stubborn, refusing to be extinguished. Morning comes too soon. The overseers stick pounds against the hut, dragging them from what little rest they found. The slaves rise, shoulders bowed, eyes dull. Isaac pushes himself upright, every muscle screaming in protest. Yet as he steps out into the smoke-filled yard, he holds something new inside him, not hope, exactly, but something close. He carries his mother's name on his tongue, his sister's laughter in his memory. The overseers can whip his back, starve his belly, and grind his bones into dust. But they cannot erase the echoes of the forgotten. They cannot silence the dead, and as Isaac walks toward the kill, its fire roaring hungrily, he whispers once more into the morning air, Mary, Sarah, you are not gone, gone. The kill breathes like a living beast, its belly glowing red, its smoke curling skyward as if the earth itself were on fire. Day after day, it consumes everything they give, it clay, wood, sweat, flesh, and, still, it demands more. Isaac kneels in the pit, scooping mud with hands already torn open. His fingers are swollen, the skin split at the knuckles, caked with both blood and clay. The overseer's shadow looms over him, whip coiled at his side, ready to strike at the smallest hesitation. Isaac molds the wet earth into bricks, the soft shapes that will harden in the flames. It is endless work, without pause, without mercy. The overseers say clay is nothing, but Isaac knows better. Clay is skin. Clay is blood. Clay is the soul beaten and pressed until it loses its shape. And still, it must endure the fire. Ruth works beside him, her child strapped to her back with a ragged cloth. The boy is too small for the labor, but no one is spared here. His tiny arms tremble as he carries water, his bare feet stumbling in the mud. Isaac watches him falter once, twice, then collapse into the dirt, his face pale with exhaustion. Up. The overseer snarls, whip already rising. Ruth throws herself forward, shielding her child with her body. The lash strikes her shoulder, and she cries out, the sound sharp and raw. The overseer sneers, pulling back for another blow. Something inside. Isaac snaps. Before he can think, he shifts closer, scooping up Ruth's stack of clay. I'll carry it, he says, his voice steady, though his heart thunders in his chest. The overseer's eyes narrow. What did you say I'll carry? It, Isaac repeats, lifting the load onto his raw shoulders. His body screams, but he locks his jaw against the pain. He keeps his gaze low, but inside, his blood burns with defiance. For a moment, there is silence. Then the whip cracks. The lash rips across Isaac's back, reopening wounds that had barely begun to heal. He staggers, but does not drop the clay. Another lash follows, then another, until his legs threaten to buckle. Still, he clings to the load, each breath a ragged fire in his chest. The overseer snarls, frustrated by Isaac's refusal. To collapse, carry it then. Carry it until your bones snap. Isaac stumbles forward, the weight crushing him, sweat and blood mingling on his skin. Ruth's eyes meet his, wide with fear and grief. She shakes her head, silently begging him not to sacrifice himself further. But Isaac cannot stop. To yield now would be to admit the overseer's victory. Every step is agony. The clay cuts into his skin, the heat of the kiln sears his lungs. He reaches the fire's mouth, drops the load, and steps back, his body trembling. The overseer raises his whip again, but Mr. Grayson's voice interrupts from a distance. Enough. The master stands near the kiln, his polished boots untouched by mud, his fine clothes unmarked by soot. He surveys the scene with cold amusement. The brute has carried his punishment well. Let him bleed for the lesson. The kiln doesn't need dead men, it needs laborers who remember their place. The overseer lowers his whip reluctantly, though his eyes promise that Isaac will pay again soon. Isaac staggers back to his place, chest heaving, body burning. Ruth presses a hand to her child, clutching him tight, her lips trembling with unspoken gratitude. She dares not thank Isaac aloud. Gratitude here is dangerous. The work continues. Isaac forces himself to mold more clay, each press of his hands a fresh reminder of his wounds. The blood on his back mixes with the mud, staining the bricks he shapes. He wonders if the kiln will notice, if the fire will know it is burning pieces of him. Ours drag by. The sun beats down, the overseer's bark orders, the kiln roars endlessly. By the time the day ends, Isaac's body is barely holding together. Yet when he collapses inside the hut that night, he feels something stir in his chest, a spark, faint but alive. For one moment in the pit, he had lifted the burden, taken the whip, defied the overseer's claim that he was nothing but an animal. His body may belong to the kiln, but his choice had been his own. And in that choice lay a quiet rebellion as he lies in the dark. Ruth whispers across the hut so softly that only he can hear. You carried more than clay today. Isaac does not answer. His body is too weak, his throat too raw. But inside, her words kindle something deeper than pain. The kiln has his flesh, but his spirit, though cracked and bleeding, remains his. The kiln yard has always been a prison, but now it feels more like a cage built for one man. Isaac can feel at the weight of the overseer's gaze, clinging to him like a chain. Since the day he carried Ruth's load and bore the lash without breaking, the overseers have marked him. He is no longer just another body in the pit. He is a threat. Suspicion festers among the masters. They know hope spreads like wildfire, even in the ashes. If one slave dares to resist, even silently, others might follow. So Isaac becomes their example, their warning, their chosen prey. The overseer named Carter takes the lead. He circles Isaac. At every chance, whip in hand, waiting for the smallest falter. When Isaac bends for clay, Carter is there. When Isaac staggers under a load, Carter gears loudly, daring him to collapse. Even when Isaac works without flaw, Carter finds cause to humiliate. On your knees, Carter orders one morning, his voice sharp as a blade. Isaac hesitates, and the whip cracks across his shoulder. He drops the dirt grinding into his raw wounds. Carter sneers. Stay there, crawl to the pit. Let them all see how strong you are now. Isaac obeys. His knees scrape against the stones, blood seeping into the dust. Around him, the other slaves keep their heads down, hands moving faster. Terrified that pity might draw the overseer's eye to them, Mr. Grayson appears, his polished boots gleaming in the sun. He chuckles at the sight of Isaac crawling. A fine beast, he says with mocking admiration. Too proud to beg, but not too proud to crawl. You see, Carter, this is the problem with strong backs. They start thinking they have strong wills. Best to break them early. The words burn hotter than the sun. Isaac says nothing, but inside his chest, the ember glows hotter, fueled by humiliation. He crawls, brick by brick, load after load, his body screaming, but his silence unbroken. Later that day, Carter invents another cruelty. Sing, he commands, as Isaac hauls bricks across the yard. Isaac freezes, unsure if he heard correctly. Sing, Carter repeats, lashing the air. You've got a voice, boy. Let's hear it. A work song to please your master. The demand is not for music, it is for mockery. Carter wants to turn Isaac's suffering into entertainment. The others pause in their labor, their eyes darting, nervously waiting to see what he will do. Isaac forces a sound from his throat, low broken, more moan than melody. Carter laughs, striking him again. Louder, let the kiln hear you. Isaac lifts his voice, the sound trembling but growing. a rough chant that echoes across the yard. The words are nothing, nonsense syllables, but beneath them runs the faint echo of his mother's lullaby. Only he knows it. To the overseers, it is submission. To Isaac, it is defiance, a secret song buried beneath their mockery. Carter grins, satisfied, and lets him continue. The other slaves hear it too. Ruth glances at him, eyes wide, as if she recognizes the hidden thread beneath the false song. Samuel bows his head, lips moving silently in prayer. Even little Thomas seems to stand taller, carrying his small load with new determination. But Carter is not done. At the day's end, when the sun dips low and the slaves are herded back, he seizes Isaac by the arm and drags him before the group. "Bow," he orders, pressing Isaac's head toward the dirt. "Bow to your master. Let them see you know your place." Isaac's neck strains every muscle resisting, but the whip bites deep into his back until at last his forehead touches the dust. The overseers laugh, their boots kicking dirt into his hair. Mr. Grissom claps slowly, as though rewarding a well-trained dog. "Good," he says, his voice smooth with satisfaction. "Let every man, woman, and child here see what happens to pride. Tomorrow you will work twice as hard. If he stumbles, you will all suffer." The slaves lower their heads, silent in their fear. Isaac pushes himself upright, his chest heaving, the taste of dirt and blood thick in his mouth. He does not speak. He cannot. But inside, the ember blazes. That night in the hut, the silence is heavier than usual. Samuel lies still, his breath shallow, his old body near breaking. Ruth rocks her child, her face hidden in the shadows. Isaac lies flat on the dirt, his wounds throbbing. He feels the weight of their eyes on him, even in the dark. They saw him crawl, they saw him bow, they saw him mocked into song. Yet he knows they also saw the fire that still smolders behind his silence. The overseers believe humiliation will shatter him. They do not see that every lash, every mockery, every forced bow only carves the ember deeper into his soul. He whispers to himself in the darkness, words too soft for anyone else to hear. "You will not break me. Not yet, not ever, not ever." Morning breaks with a sky the color of ash. The kill yard is already alive with the sound of groaning wood, clattering bricks, and the bark of overseers. Isaac drags himself from the hut, his body stiff with pain, his back a map of fresh scars. He forces his feet forward one step, then another. In this place, hesitation is punished worse than exhaustion. Little Thomas trails behind Ruth, his small arms burdened with a load of damp clay far too heavy for his frame. His eyes, wide and hollow, carry no childhood in them anymore. He stumbles often, each time rising quickly, fear propelling him before the overseers can notice. But Carter notices everything. His gaze sweeps the yard like a hawk, sharp and merciless. When Thomas trips again, the boy landing hard in the mud, Carter's whip snaps through the air. "Useless brat," he snarls. The lash slicing across Thomas's frail back, the child cries out, scrambling to lift the clay again, his tiny hands shaking Dot. Ruth rushes forward, desperation etched in her every step. "Please," she begs, her voice breaking. "He's just a boy. Let me carry it for him." Carter sneers. Then what lesson would he learn? Isaac's fists clench. His blood pounds in his ears. Every instinct screams at him to step forward, to shield the child, to take the blows himself. But he knows what happens when he interferes. His defiance last time made him a target, and it brought suffering to everyone. If he acts again, the whole yard will pay, and so he stands frozen, rage boiling inside him, while the lash falls again. Thomas struggles upright, clutching the clay to his chest. He takes a few steps, his legs trembling, then collapses once more. The clay spills into the dirt. His body convulses, breath rattling in his chest. "Up," Carter roars. "Get up, boy." But Thomas does not rise. His small chest shudders once, then stills. His eyes, once so wide with fear, glaze over, staring at nothing. For a moment, silence swallows the yard. Even the overseers pause, their cruelty checked by the sight of a child, broken beyond repair. Ruth screams, a sound so raw it seems to tear the sky apart. She falls to her knees beside her son, clutching his lifeless body, rocking him in her. arms as if she can will him back. Isaac's heart twists, a pain sharper than any whip. He cannot breathe. The world blurs with heat and grief. He had seen death before, but this was innocence crushed beneath the weight of labor meant for grown men. This was cruelty carried too far. Carter spits into the dirt. Weak if he can't work, he's not worth keeping. Ruth wails louder, clutching her son's body tighter. She rocks back and forth, whispering his name, again and again. Around them, the other slaves bow their heads, their silence heavy, their grief pressed down by fear. No one dares to speak. No one dares to move. Mr. Grayson arrives, his face unreadable. He surveys the scene like a man inspecting a broken tool. Dispose of the body, he orders coldly. The kill waits for no one. Ruth clings tighter, her knuckles white. "No," she cries. "You can't take him from me. Let me bury him. Let me." Grayson's voice cuts like steel. "You have no right to bury what belongs to me." The overseers step forward, prying Thomas from her arms. She screams and fights, clawing at them, but they strike her down with the butt of a whip. Isaac lunges instinctively, but another overseer blocks his path, whip raised. He stops teeth, grinding nails, biting into his palms until blood flows. The boy's body is carried away like refuse. No prayer, no grave, just another small flame snuffed out in silence. That night, the hut is darker than ever. No one speaks. Ruth lies curled. On the dirt, silent tears streaking her face, her body hollowed by grief. Samuel's lips move in a prayer, too faint to hear. Isaac lies staring at the ceiling, his chest aching as though the lash has torn him open anew. The weight of silence presses down on them all. In that silence lives fear, grief, and the heavy truth that their lives mean nothing to the men who own them. But in that silence, too, something else stirs. Isaac feels it burning inside him, stronger than before. Thomas's death is a wound, but it is also a spark. The overseers believe silence means submission. They do not see that silence can also be a seed waiting for the right moment to break the earth. Isaac closes his eyes. He does not weep. He does not pray. Instead, he promises. "For you, little one," he whispers to the darkness, "for you I will endure. For you I will rise." The kill roars louder than ever, its belly swallowing endless stacks of clay. Smoke drifts thick through the yard, coating every breath with soot. To the masters, it is a sign of profit. To the slaves, it is a graveyard without headstones. After Thomas's death, something in the yard has changed. The laughter of overseers rings hollower, the workers move like shadows, and every glance carries grief too deep to name. The silence is heavier, a silence the masters mistake for obedience. But Isaac knows better. It is the silence of wounds. Too raw for words. Ruth has not spoken in days. She drags herself to the pit each morning, her eyes empty, her body moving without soul. Isaac watches her closely, afraid that the kill has taken more than her child, that it has taken her will to live. Carter does not relent. If anything, he grows crueler, perhaps, to stamp out the strange stillness settling over the slaves. He singles Isaac out more than ever, forcing him to carry heavier loads, to kneel longer in the dirt, to endure the whip for imagined mistakes. Each lash carves fresh pain, but Isaac does not cry out. His silence infuriates Carter, yet it gives Isaac strength. Every blow becomes a vow. One evening, as the sun sinks low, Mr. Grayson inspects the yard. He pauses at Isaac, his lips curling into a thin smile. "This one has spirit still," he says, "but spirit is a disease here. Better to crush it before it spreads." Carter's eyes glint with anticipation. "Shall I break him tonight?" Grayson nods. "Make an example. Let them all see what becomes of defiance." The slaves are gathered in the yard, the kill casting an eerie glow across their weary faces. Carter drags Isaac forward, his whip coiled like a serpent. On your knees, he bellows. Isaac stands tall. His body is broken, his back a tapestry of scars, but his spine refuses to bend. The silence around him thickens, every slave watching, every breath held. Carter's face twists with rage. The whip lashes out, striking Isaac's chest. Blood beads at the wound, but Isaac does not flinch. Again and again the whip falls, tearing flesh, painting his body in crimson. Still, he does not bow. Grayson steps closer, his eyes cold. "Do you not understand, slave? You are nothing. Less than clay? Even the fire does not remember you." Isaac lifts his head, meeting the master's gaze. His voice is raw, low but steady. "Clay remembers. It holds every hand that shaped it. And one day, Master the Fire will remember you." A murmur stirs among the slaves, soft, fearful, but alive. Grayson's face hardens. End him. Carter draws his knife, pressing the blade against Isaac's ribs. Ruth cries out for the first time in days, breaking from the line, her voice hoarse with grief. "Please, no more. He has done nothing but suffer." Carter shoves her aside. Isaac does not resist. He knows what is coming. Yet in this moment, he feels no fear. His silence has carried him this far, but now his words few, though they maybe have lit a spark. The blade drives deep. Isaac gasps, his body jerking, blood spilling hot down his side. He collapses to his knees, not in submission, but because his strength can carry him no further. His eyes sweep the yard one last time. He sees Ruth, weeping. Samuel whispering, prayers. The others, staring with wide eyes, their silence cracking with something dangerous memory, defiance, hope. Isaac falls forward, the dirt cool against his cheek. The kill roars behind him, its flames devouring the night. His breath fades, his heartbeat slows, but before darkness takes him, a final thought burns through his mind. They cannot own silence. They cannot own the fire that waits beyond it. The overseers drag his body toward the kill, intending to discard him like wasted clay. But before they can, Ruth breaks free, throwing herself across him. Her scream pierces the night, raw and unyielding. Others stir, shifting, their chains clinking as if some unseen hand tugs them forward. Grayson shouts for order. Carter swings his whip, but the yard does not return to silence. A low hum rises among the slaves, not words, but sound, a vibration of grief, anger, and memory. It is Isaac's chant, the broken song he once sang under Carter's orders. Only now it is theirs. The hum grows, swelling into a thunder that even the kill cannot drown. For the first time, the overseers hesitate. Unsettled by the unity, they cannot lash apart. Isaac's body lies still, but his spirit lingers in the silence, in the song, in the fire that refuses to forget. And though the masters believe they have won, though they walk away certain of their control, the truth has shifted. The slaves have seen one of their own stand unbroken, even in death. They have felt his ember pass into them. The kill will keep burning. The overseers will keep lashing. But something has changed forever. Isaac is gone, yet his silence, his song, his defiance echoes on.